Hi, everybody. Dave Donaldson here for another episode of Entrepreneurial Impact, along with my sidekick, Joe Martin.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to talk about winning. I don't think I've ever been called a sidekick before. This is awesome.
Yeah, I have to choose my words carefully.
So you're Batman, I'm Robin. Is that how we're going to go with this?
Well, you know.
I gotcha. It's all cool. It's, I mean, you beat the Bills with a terrible horse collar non-call, and now all of a sudden we got the high horse going on, huh? I don't know. I'm pretty sure he had to replace his jersey after
Joe,
getting ripped like that.
I thought you were above blame.
No, I'm about rules. I'm about following rules and actually being enforced upon, because all of a sudden he gets a 15-yard intentional grounding penalty that kicks us out of field goal range, and we got to go to, it's okay. We were at the link. I get it. There's favoritism. It's okay.
But they are winning. They're 10-1, and they're winning, and no holds back, and they're doing whatever it takes to win, and they have the right frame of mind and right mindset. And I tell you what, you can use all the sports analogies you want. That was two different football games. Refs aside, okay, I think refs and calls you can always hang your hat on things, but that was two different teams from the first half to the second half.
Yeah.
Right? And when you talk about winning, the question is, do you have what it takes? Right? What are you going to accomplish? Right? Are you going to blame the refs and waddle up? Or you're going to say, you know what? I got to do more, and I only have so much time to get it done.
I would agree with that statement. I think it's the winning, as we prep for this, like what we were going to talk about, there's so many different dynamics that come to my head, from playing sports to being in professional life to just in general life being competitive, because I just don't like losing. Like, I think there's like a gift for people, or maybe it's a curse actually, is that like people hate, like there's this weird thought like, yeah, I love winning, but then there's people that hate losing so much that it actually trumps their need to even win. That, like, I don't know how to better describe that. Like, yeah, I like winning, but I hate losing so much.
So therefore I don't try to win?
Well, it's weird. It's like the avoidance of pain, right? That like some people want, like, hey, I could say, hey, come, do this couple things, you'll get this great book. Or is it like, hey, I got to run away from a problem, right? And there's a lot of human motivation around the fact that the avoidance of pain actually is a bigger motivator than that of like going towards like pleasure, right? Which is why you've got some people that say, I hate losing more than I like winning. And that drive of hating to lose is so motivational in your behaviors that it literally causes you to win on pretty much everything, or causes you to be competitive in stuff you shouldn't be competitive in.
Hey, that's an interesting point, because I think if you look at there's the day-to-day grind, right? Are you winning? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I heading in a path to accomplish my goals? Okay. And to some people, just getting home every day might be winning, right?
Could be.
To others, take all the noise of the day-to-day out of it, and winning is so much more, right? Like, there's a drive and a competitive and a passion. And of course, we will fall towards sports analogies all day long for this thing, but when it comes to business or life or personal or finance, what does winning look like?
I mean, when I think about winning, there's a couple different quotes that sit in my head, but the two that resonate with me the most is like, winning's not normal. I think that everyone listening needs to be very clear about that. If you say, I want to be number one, or I want to win at this, and blah, 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 like, it's not normal. People are going to be like, you're crazy. That's not normal. Yeah, that you're working 10 hours a day because you're trying to get to X, Y, you're trying to get some deal done, or you're trying to get this income goal so that you can pay off this thing, or you can buy this property, or you can invest in this XYZ, or open this other business. Like, if you want to do something that is like in the top echelons of success, that level of the top 1% is not normal. By definition, being the top 1% means you're not the 50% at the trend line. So that means you're going to have to do stuff that is not normal, that people are going to like cast shade at you, and they're going to be like, that's not normal. You should have a balanced life, and blah, 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 blah. And like, yeah, Brene Brown brings it up in her book, Dare to Lead, but her whole thing is that like life is a series of counterbalances, and you have to be focused on the things that matter in your personal and professional life. And what I mean by that is, okay, if your child has a soccer game on Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning, like, treat that soccer game as if you had a business appointment at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Like, are you going to be at your business appointment on your phone and taking another, like, personal call while you're meeting with a business potential client? No. So like when you're at soccer practice at 7 a.m. and you want to be there because you want to have that memory with your child, like be completely present. So like I'm not a big proponent on this whole idea of like balance work life. No, there's going to be times where you've got to lean into your personal life and you got to lean into your business life, and you've got to be able to make those choices about what matters the most there to win, so that you have experiences worth having for people. And when people try to say, "Oh, well, you're working too hard," or that's chaotic, or that's psycho, or whatever, I'd be like, "Great, you want an average life? I don't want one. I want a superb life," which means I'm willing to make sacrifices to do stuff that most normal people will never experience in their life. And if that's called crazy, then so be it.
I think that's the uniqueness about winning, is that because everybody's wired differently, that the definition of winning varies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You hear all kinds of different things. Like having a big life. That doesn't necessarily mean financial. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean I have a windfall in a bank account. To different people. Right? Some people aren't motivated by money. Other people are motivated by family, right? Showing up and prioritizing, going to the sports. And it's funny, Joe and I, we joke about this a lot. Joe, I've got older kids, Joe's got younger kids, so he hasn't quite yet had to experience, and just likes to tell me that he's not going to be the ultra super competitive parent. And anybody that's met Joe knows that I'm going to be right about this one. As we're going into the winning episode, you're just going to tee this up. I'm going to play this back for you in about 10, 15 years as you're that guy. But we all have it to some degree. The matter is, where do you find it? What moves you? What motivates you to have that winning persona come out? And does that actually prioritize or define who you are?
Yeah. And the second part about, I think winning, and I think you bring up a really good point, is that like in different phases of life, there's different winning, or not phases of life, different aspects of your life. Is that like, what does winning look like, right? Like you're ultra competitive in something else and you're not in that, whatever it may be. But there's also different definitions of winning based on the situation you're in. So like there's another definition of winning. So one is I wouldn't even say it's also understanding what a win looks like. I think going back to your point is like what you have to define winning. So like a lot of times people say, I want to win, but then they never define a goal.
Win what?
Exactly. So like I have a big challenge with people that are non-committal to goals, because what you're telling me is that you're unwilling to commit to something because if you don't hit it, you're fearing of that failure. So you're unwilling to commit to something because it's too hard or it's tough, or I don't want to fully commit to it because what if I don't hit it? Okay, what if you don't hit it, but what if you don't even start? Like, what are you missing out on by even, like, I'd rather have you get to 50% of your goal than get to 0% of your goal because you're too fearful that you're not going to actually, like, perform. What kind of life is that? So I think there's also a risk around winning, is you're willing to risk your ego. You're ready to risk your, like, namesake. You're willing to take egg on the face because you're willing to step out and do something you've never done before, because most often, most people don't even want to step up the dock, right? And I say that in the competitive side of, like, what you can control. There's another side of winning that has to do with like leading a team. And this definition of winning, when it talks about leadership, will never leave me. And it's that winning is empowering those in your circle to achieve things you've already mastered.
That's deep.
It is. And like that's competitive because like there's a lot of things that we individually can do because we have a lot of control on it. You have very little control on others. So your ability as far as
control or influence?
Well, you don't have any control on people. You can have influence with them.
Okay.
That's why I said that's why I purposely use the word control, is that you don't have control on people, right? You don't. And that's why leadership can be tough, is that like, hey, I don't have control on this person, so they're going to do what they believe is best, or their belief system or their training or whatever the thing may be, because they're not you. You can control yourself. You can't control somebody else. So the winning aspect of leadership is saying how I'm going to win when I empower those to accomplish what I've already mastered. And if you think about that as you evolve as a leader, as you evolve even as a parent, that like winning is empowering your children to do stuff that you've already gone through. And maybe that is lending them skills they need.
Well, it's an interesting thought that parenting is the ultimate game.
I don't know if I I don't know if it's a game I'm ever going to win. But
well, right. Well, when you say winning, like, and how do you measure it? Like, yes, I think there's a series of goals. You have to kind of put something out there, But at the same time, there's an interesting thought to winning. How once you've won, are you still winning?
It's a never ending. I mean, it's the same thing with life. Life is constantly evolving, right? So like, kind of like if you bring up Infinite Game from Simon Sinek about there is no, like, you can't say, oh, I won at life, because whenever you get to one level of success, you bump against other like limitations or other challenges.
Well, I don't think when it comes to life, you don't get to say you won, because that'll be somebody saying you're losing. Well, he won at life.
Yeah, right. Because you never actually see behind the curtain.
Correct.
But I do believe in the challenge that I think a lot of us face in business, especially as an entrepreneur, is that as an entrepreneur, let's be clear, you don't get a participation award to pay your mortgage. You don't get a gold cookie, or I'm sorry, gold star or a cookie for showing up at the office, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, you get paid when you perform. And when I think that's the closest. I think entrepreneurship is so beautiful in the fact of, like, when it comes to competition and winning, is that you can get a clear line of sight of, like, did I perform? Because the only time you get paid is when you actually perform and provide value of some type of service. And I think far too often in our world that we're not encouraging people to fail, but we're also not encouraging or setting people up to have challenges in life. That, like, life is about, like, you leave the house, like my kids leave the house, like, my job as a parent is not to make their life easier. My job as a parent is to make them ready to handle challenges in the world so they know how to handle them and succeed. Like, they're going to get fired, or they're going to fail a test, and they're going to, get hit by a car, or they get in a car accident. Like, there's going to be negative things that happen in their life.
Right.
And, like, winning is the ability to say, yep, I failed, or I took a knock on the chin, or I got knocked off the seat, and I was willing to get back up because I knew I wasn't going to get stopped by one little impediment. And I think far too often people get one little impediment and they get completely, I got to leave, I got to give up, it's too hard, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I hear, how you've heard this before in our one-on-ones, the one thing that, like, drives me up the wall right now is hearing someone say, that's too tough. Let me break down when I hear somebody say that's too tough. When I think someone says tough, it's usually because the expectation of what's actually going to take to get to their goal doesn't meet reality. So let's play this out in our industry of real estate. Oh, lead gen is so tough. Tell me more. Oh, I called them 3 times. Okay. Did you text them? No. Did you hit them a direct message on social? No. Send them an email? No. Did you try some other form? Did you call them again next week? Oh, no. I called them once. They didn't get back to me. So you're telling me lead generation is tough when in statistical, like, numbers, a deal gets done between the 7th and 10th touch base with somebody. So the only reason that you believe lead generation is tough is because your expectation was I would call them once or twice and I would get the outcome, when in reality it's going to take you 7 to 10 times to reach that person. So, like, what bothers me inside of, like, this whole idea of the world tough is that, no, you just have the wrong expectation of what the work is going to take to get to the outcome you desire. So, frankly, you just actually don't want the outcome.
Or not enough, you're right. Not enough to experience sacrifice, right? To have expectations, right? Hard. And most of what we do, if you're talking about lead generation, a lot of things in business, it's not hard at all. We make it hard.
Yeah.
The barriers and the walls, the expectations, the sacrifice that we're not willing to endure allows us what makes it hard. Realization of the goal is very easy. Visualizing the goal is very easy. Hard is not doing a lot of things that have to be done. Hard is what you put in your own way.
Yes.
To remove.
Well, it's also, like, think about this too. Like, you brought up a really good point about, like, as humans, we make things hard to validate our intelligence or to validate our worth. So, like, we'll make something way more complicated in the effort to say we're more valuable because we had to deal with all this crap. No, you just made it really hard. You didn't have to make it that complicated. You just made it really hard. And you don't have to do that. Like, and that's why there's the beauty of, like, how do you simplify things? How do you make things simple? And how do you figure, like, leaders make complicated concepts simple. Because when you make complicated concepts simple, people can actually execute on them, which means you can actually win, right? And I think like there's another thought about winning. I had go ahead.
No, I was good. You bring up a point because I was thinking back a couple episodes ago. I had Mickey Pasquarello on here, and we were talking about the concept of the 4-day work week, right? And that, I think, it reflects on me because that's like you're saying, hey, I do all these things to keep myself busy to make it look like I work hard.
Yep.
But boy, what if the goal was to really like work not hard, but so efficiently that I hardly had to work at all?
Well, think about this. You don't get paid. You get paid for outcomes. That's why talking about entrepreneurs. You get paid for outcomes. You don't get paid for like punching a clock.
Right.
So like we have to get away from this idea that like we got to be busy to say that we're efficient. No. Like what's the outcome? That's why I think it's so interesting when people have challenges with goals. Because if you tell me what the goal is, then just get there. I don't care how you get there. I don't care if you get there in 2 hours. I'm paying you to get to the goal. I'm not paying you to like push a bunch of papers around.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that from the winning side is that we've got to change people's dynamics to say like, no, you get paid. So it's kind of like, we do a lot of event planning. Like an amazing event, you could say all the things are an amazing event, but if you don't have the crowd there, no one's at the event. You could have literally the best sound, light show, key speakers, all that, but if you got 2 people in the crowd, you didn't win. Right? You could have the best office and you could have the best product or whatever, but if no one's buying it, you're not winning. So like, how do we define winning based on an outcome and then get neutral to the fact that that's the definition of winning? So don't make an excuse. You either got there, or you didn't get there, and figure out the way to get there, right?
Yep.
And I say this because there was a question posed about winning. I forget which coach it was or what I was training in, but they said, "What are the words that come to mind when you hear the word winning? What are the words that like the adjectives that come to mind when I say winning?"
Perseverance.
Keep going.
Drive.
Keep going.
Motivation.
Keep going.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Long hours.
So what's interesting is you kind of went through both phases. What the coach said or the trainer said was that a lot of people say euphoric, satisfied, happy, energized, happy, like all these like euphoric, like uplifting words, right? And I didn't say what I thought, and the first thing that came to my mind about winning was gritty, hard, tough, like perseverance, right?
Yep.
And what's fascinating is that people that are used to winning know it takes work. And I'm not saying like, I if it takes me 10 phone calls, and great, I'm not going to complain about the 10 phone calls because that's what it's going to take to get the outcome.
Well, that's why I mentioned earlier, like I look at the word sacrifice, right? What is your priority? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice to do what is hard to accomplish what needs to be done to win? Yeah.
So let's, as we kind of wrap this session on, like, let's apply it to like the current economics, right? Or the current industry for real estate and our economy in the U.S. is that like currently compared to 18 months ago, interest rates are up, so it's more costly. There's layoffs happening. There's lawsuits. There's you got an election year coming up. You got all this noise, right? So let's be clear. All that stuff is reality. It's happening. But as a winner, you have to be able to focus and say, I can't control any of that. There is literally nothing I can do to any of that. It's there. I have to be aware of it. But I have to be smart enough and driven enough to know, what does this mean for me? And what got me to where I'm at today, or what I won at last year, isn't the same environment. So I need to be a little bit more gritty, a little bit more perseverance, a little bit more challenging of myself to realize I have an opportunity in a down market to go take market share, to go do more work because everybody else is saying, oh, it's hard, it's tough. The real winners are going to be like, I love hard and tough because it's going to take 90% of my competition is going to self-check themselves out because they don't want to actually work. And right now, entrepreneurs have, you eat what you kill, so go get motivated and realize that I'm just going to outwork you. Like one of the best things in my life that I love is that I just laugh. When people complain and, oh, it's hard and tough and blah, 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 I'm like laughing. So I'm like, they don't know what winning looks like. They got spoon-fed. That was easy for them. They don't actually have the tenacity. So when I sit back and get confident, I'm saying, great, love that. Love that they're saying that. because it means they're going to self-check themselves out, and I'm not even going to have to deal with them because I'm just going to outlast you. And in a moment in time where everybody else is hard and blah, 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 how do you have tenacity? How do you have focus? How do you have like unrelenting energy to get to that goal? Because going back to your part about like counterbalancing life, if this is the moment that I go hard for 12, 18 months, 24 months and take every territory, take every business opportunity, when it starts to ascend, my life is going to be easier, and I've already dominated that market. So my life is already set up so that in 2 years, I've got the ability to be with my family, with my kids, opportunities, all that kind of stuff, because I was willing to win in a quote unquote tough environment.
So in a word, winning is mindset.
I would have to agree with that.
All right. Everybody, thanks for tuning in this week for another episode of Entrepreneurial Impact, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
See you, everybody.